Rift of Nations, session 35, the final session of the campaign. Wow, 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 wow. This was the final session of the campaign. And I always do this the same way. I say what I thought was going to happen and then what actually happened. And man, oh man, was this crazy. I actually did. If you've stayed up to date with this whole series, check out on the main channel, the Dungeon Coach, if you don't already know that, but if you're watching this, you have to know that. I did a live stream where I prepped the final boss and the mechanics there, and there's a lot of really interesting intertwined mechanics because this entire big ultimate campaign ending fight had two bad guys with no extra bad guys. And so I had each of the two bad guys, the BBEG, the Architect of Nightmare, he had 4 legendary actions, and the other one had 3 legendary actions. So I had 2 creatures with 7 legendary actions. So that was the fight, and they had to bring it, and it was me versus 5 players. So there we go. And wow, oh wow, did this whole thing go crazy. So you can see me prep the monster. There were some things whenever I was prepping for the monster and mechanics and intricacies that I let go because it was just too much with everything else going on. I had a whole thing planned for rounds where the mobs are going to come in, like the creatures are going to swarm up the sides of the castle, like ads are going to start coming in the sides of the castle. Oh my god. But I was like, things went crazy, and then the concept and focus of the fight got a little different. So here's what went down. The fight starts, and they are approaching the temple. First of all, let me get them there. They go to the desert nation, and they are going to the Temple of Dreams, which is where it all is going to end. The final Warforged is a Warforged dragon, so a metal dragon, Warforged dragon, and the Architect of Nightmare, which is this ultimate evil puppeteer pulling the strings of everything. And it's versus them, and they are on their way to stop him. So they see the temple, they see the huge pyramid structure in the distance, and a literal sea of Nightwalkers, essentially, for Game of Thrones visual. And they have to hack through it. So I gave them a 2-round skill challenge. And if they failed, then every failure was damage dealt to that player and half that much damage dealt to everybody else. And there was, 2 rounds. Here we go. And round 1, they all succeeded, not a single failure, and we even had a 1 natural 20. So that was crazy. And I had the natural 20, and I love natural 20s, and I always take it one step farther. And I said that the next person who fails, the damage will be halved for that natural 20. So awesome, cool. So then the second round, there was one failure, so I rolled damage. That person took that damage halved, and everybody else took that damage halved, right? So anyway, but ultimately, how the whole thing went was a super awesome skill challenge cinematic of them running through stuff and like go and like hacking through hordes of enemies, pulling off combo moves together and all this other cool stuff. There was also a secret hidden mechanic where the boss himself had 500 hit points. Okay. He also had resistance to all damage if the Warforged dragon was alive, which that's crazy. So he has 1,000 effective hit points now. He also got dealt half damage to anyone who has not faced their fears. If you want to get into that, you can watch the live stream on the main channel. I go into the whole mechanics of how that whole thing worked. But it was really cool to have this overwhelming mechanic of face your fears. And Odin, once again, was attacking everybody. And on his turn, he had a really cool moment where Odin had just attacked Clara, and he goes, I want to take a bonus action. I want to take a healing potion, and I want to give it to Clara, and I want to say, I'm sorry. And he had just attacked her too. He role played this really cool moment where he felt bad for always attacking her. And I was like, oh wow, we're gonna have this be a moment. And I asked him to make a wisdom saving throw. I gave him advantage because of stuff that happened in the last session, and he beat the DC, and he broke free of the fear of always letting people down, always failing people. And that was a huge thing. And there was this big moment at the table for him and the release of that. And basically what I was trying to say is there's each of the 5 players had something going on with them. Odin's was he was attacking people. But then as soon as he beat it, I was like, wait, Odin never attacked anybody. And everybody at the table was like, wait, what do you mean? I was like, he is putting thoughts in your head that Odin attacked you, but he never did. He's trying to make you doubt each other, and he's trying to really mess with you, Odin, of making you doubt yourself. your greatest fear of losing control, and he is spreading that to everyone. And everyone's like, oh my gosh. And so then they all had insight into their own things of like, maybe the stuff that I'm happening is not real. And some of the players made that connection, some didn't. But then we kept going, and the whole thing continued. So if you faced your fear and beat your fear, you dealt normal damage. If the Warforged dragon was dead and you beat your fears, you would deal normal damage to him. If not, you dealt half damage. Whoa, right? With 500 hit points, that's 2,000 effective health. That's crazy, right? So they were starting to figure some stuff out, and it was really cool to see them move around. I'm looking at my notes here. Then what else? Oh gosh. So Q has the ability to reach out, and his natural 20 on his wild magic surge raises. He can reach out and copy the powers of another creature around him. He reached out and tried to copy the Nightmare King, like the Architect of Nightmare. He reached out and tried to copy his powers. And I was like, oh dear. Oh wow. So he touched the button and it was not good. So I possessed him. He reached out in a very he touched the fire. There was a fire in front of him, and he reached and put his hand in it, right? So I had to pop, right? And then the Architect of Nightmare reached in, and Q joined the bad guy side for a little bit, and I was acting through Q and doing some stuff, and Q was trying to fight it and all that kind of. It was really interesting to see that whole thing. So everything went south way more than I thought because of that. So I did not think that the most powerful player as far as damage goes, this is a Warforged who has been built up, and he has all these different crystals and all these different things that he's been building up. Super big powerhouse situation happening here, where I thought he was going to be able to be a tank in front of the line. Everyone else was taking damage because he was possessed, and he's also dealing damage to them. So now what was supposed to be 2 monsters with 7 legendary actions against 5 players is now 3 monsters with 7 legendary actions against 4 players. That is a huge swing, and it's not good action economy wise. That's real bad. So I had to stop, like the layer actions of enemies coming in. I was like, nope, that's not going to happen. Never mind. And then I also had a trigger where the first player to go down, one of the NPC Warforges that was their little friend and companion, was going to rush over and save them. And I changed the music, had a little moment where Hermes, the Warforged that they saved, sacrificed himself for everyone else. And he has this ability where whenever he uses his abilities, he explodes. But he used an ability and he contained the explosion within himself, essentially killing him, like imploding himself in order to save Clara. Because Clara went down. She was the target of a lot of stuff from the Architect of Nightmare. So basically, the best way I can try and get across what happened, because man, oh man, was it crazy, is to give the full rundown without a round by round play by play, because this was the full session. The entire session was a 3-hour, 2.5 hour fight of all 3-hour fight of all of this going around. Is Q ran in, got possessed, but then shook free of it to be able to help Darius do what he was going to do with the Clockwork Dragon, the Warforged Dragon, and then once he so Darius. I guess I didn't say this part either. Wow, this is crazy. I really want y'all to see these live. That's the next goal with the next campaign, but we'll see what we can do. So Darius, he turned into a green dragon. He has his patron is a green dragon, and there are 5 dragons that they went and left to seal away an ancient evil, and they died in the process. So he became the next one. So he now could transform into an ancient green dragon. So he was transforming into a dragon, which was manipulating his wind magic and all these other really cool things that he was able to do. So he was a green dragon the whole fight, which was really awesome at the table, and that was cool for him too. He had the idea to dragon versus metal dragon, fight the dragon and try and just rip the dream crystal out of its chest and one shot it, essentially. So I started this really interesting skill challenge where I set the DC. It was an erosion DC, and I set an erosion DC, and he like, so I have a whole video on erosion DCs in the main channel. I had an erosion DC of 25, and then he had to get that 25 all the way down to 0. So he made his first check, and he got a 34 on his spell check with a whole bunch of stuff that he threw together to make that happen. And so he got a 34 on his spell check. The difference between 25 and 34 is 9. So that 9 above subtracts from the 25. So the 25 erosion DC, since he beat it by 9, it now gets subtracted by 9, and that DC dropped down to 14. And now that keeps going on and on and on. And then through the work of the rest of the teammates, they all came together and they one-shot the dragon. They ripped the dream crystal out of its chest, and they got the dream crystal to Q, which gave him all 10 out of 10 dream crystals, because Q came into the fight with 7 out of 10 dream crystals. Imagine Thanos trying to collect them all, right? He had 7 of the 10. Hermes, his little friend, had 2 of them, and the evil dragon had 1. Hermes sacrificed himself to save Clara, and they got Q the crystals, and then they got this dragon, and now Q ascended into greatness. I leveled him up on the spot. I was like, roll a hit dice for me. All right, cool. Add your constitution modifier, 15. Okay, add 15 health to your maximum and current. You're now level 8. And they're like, what? He's level 8. Whoa. So I leveled him up as the symbolic bonus of all of that. And he immediately got the benefits of a long rest and all these other cool boom, boom, boom. And then, yeah, so he was now cooking, to say that he was very powerful. And I was planning on that, but I wasn't planning on him being possessed for like 3 rounds. So anyway, the whole fight had a different vibe to it, and I had to adjust some things, or it just would have been real bad. And I can also say, Clara, the dream champion, she never reached out. And if y'all saw in the live streams, I told her, I was like, hey, reach out to your dream people. I said it in a nice, sneaky Dungeon Master way. But she forgot to. So she never knew that she could shake off this thing. So Clara was in a rough spot the whole fight, where she's like on the edge of dying the whole fight. She gets knocked out like 3 times. She had 2 failed death saves. She was so close to dying, and there was these final moments where all the rest of the team was coming together to save her, and they ended up saving her. And every time she got knocked out, and she was like, no, like she would see her dream people, and they would talk to her. So the big picture of everything is the team came together Darius, Q, and Clara all came together to get the dream crystal out of the metal dragon, and then they all converged on the Nightmare King, and the people that had beat their fears were able to deal more damage to him, and they figured out this teamwork component, where I also added in an extra curveball where if you worked in a combo move together with your teammates in some way, and you worked together, you sacrificed something that was for you and you did it for somebody else, and you just overall worked together, I had anyone who worked together roll a d4. And whatever number it landed on, times it by 10, and you add that much to your damage. So the people sometimes are rolling 2s and 3s and even a 4 once, and that's 30, 40, 30, whatever damage adding on top of whatever damage you would have done. So it started to really, really add up. And there was one round where somebody did like 116 damage, but this was from a lot of combo moves together. And it was like they figured out, like, we got to work together. And that's beating Nightmare together. And that was the whole concept of this entire campaign came to fruition in the final session of the campaign, of them having to come together, to fight together, to face their fears, which was very poetic, very beautiful. And then, for a very poetic, very beautiful ending, at the end of everything's done. The dust settles. They've defeated the Nightmare, all of this stuff. There's even more mechanics I can get into, but I'm not trying to get too into the mechanics of this. But after it was all said and done, Odin lost his lycanthropy. He shifted back into a normal human. And I was like, you didn't control that. That just happened. And you feel that you can't shift again. And you feel that you're cured of lycanthropy. So he was cured of lycanthropy. Darius, this green dragon curse that he has, he can shapeshift into a dragon. He shapeshifted back into a normal person. And he lost that. Which is good. He's not cursed anymore. Same thing with Ivar. He was sick and he had this sickness on him, and that was lifted and gone. Clara was the dream champion, and she had a conversation with her people, the people that chose her to be the dream champion, and said, "We're going to go now. We're proud of you. You've done your job. It's time for us to go now." And then, so she was done. And then I got to Q, the last one, and man, oh man. Was this a little bit of an emotional moment at the table for me, because Q died. I described he's a Warforged. He is fueled by dream crystals. The dream crystals aren't needed anymore. The Nightmare's gone. He's just done and served his purpose at the highest form possible. That is what Warforged are used for. They're nuclear deterrents to overcome and rise up above what is coming at them. And he did that. and he accomplished his goal, and now his goal's completed, and there's no more dream crystals. So I was like, Q, I changed the music, and I was like, you feel weak. And everybody kind of started picking up like, oh no, whoa, 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 whoa. I was like, you see this wispy white energy start to leave from your chest up into the sky. And I was like, no, wait. And so they start to like grab him, and then he's like, no, it's fine. And like as a player, the player who's played Q, he went right along with it and was like, guys, it's okay. And it was a really cool moment to see them being like, no, but then them understanding like, no, he's fueled by these dream crystals, and his time's up. It's gone. It's done. It's gone. So that was the last note I have here. Is he died and slipped away. And it was a really beautiful moment to end. I was like, and that is where we'll end the session. And that's technically the end of the campaign. We do have the epilogue that we're going to do next week. So I am going to have one more of these videos that I will film next week as well for like a campaign wrap up of like where everything went in the end. But they defeated the Architect of Nightmare. They ripped out the final Dream Crystal from the Warforged Dragon, and Q ascended into godhood before falling and everything. And I kept the player afterwards, and we had like a conversation for a while about what's going to happen with Q. And I'll save that of what happens with Q for next time. So amazing session, amazing campaign. Some crazy intricate stuff to the fight that I don't want to ramble on in these. It's hard for me to find the amount of how deep I want to go in with these. So let me know if you would rather me gone into more detail, or if I'm at a good spot right now of like how in depth I want to go. Because I don't want to do like a turn by turn breakdown of like a verbal description of what's happening, because it'd be hard to wrap around your head around. So I'm trying to be cognizant of that. So anyway. It's late now because we had a late session, and I'm going to hope you guys also stay creative. Thanks, Outside the Box. Peace.